We've all heard the statistic. Over 90% of all the coastal wetlands in Southern California have been lost over the last 50 to 100 years to development. And that means that Buena Vista Lagoon represents part of that little remaining 5%. Coastal wetlands are critically important for certain species of birds. They're dependent upon it. And Buena Vista Lagoon serves as a wintering ground for a number of bird species that depend upon this habitat.
Hello, my name is Rachel Woodfield. My address is on file. I've lived in Fire Mountain in South Oceanside for 27 years. I'm a biologist. I've worked for over 10 years in North County's coastal lagoons. Right now I work at Agua Hedionda, the lagoon that the lobbyists got confused with this lagoon when they were begging for signatures. I've been privately and professionally involved at Buena Vista Lagoon also for many years, and I'm here to ask you to reconsider the value of this property to the city of Oceanside. As you know, many and many years of development such as this have led to the degradation of the lagoon to the point where we spent many, many more years making a plan for how to fix it, how to restore it, restore the aesthetic and biological values to the city. And I find this proposed project to be completely inconsistent with those goals.
The Buena Vista Lagoon has been a nature center since the 1930s. In all that time since then, it's seen a lot of threats. There's been proposals to turn it into a marina and an amusement park, a trailer park, fill it in for housing developments. Back in the late 1960s, we lost a fourth of it at the eastern end there for Plaza Camino Real Shopping Center. Since 1968, the California Department of Fish and Game has managed Buena Vista Lagoon as an ecological reserve. And it's a valuable wildlife site, especially for birds. We have over 200 species of birds that can be found in and around the lagoon.
Depending on what the exact nature of the restoration project that will take place here at Buena Vista Lagoon, sometime within the next 10 years, it's possible that we'll have as many as 300 species of birds that might be found here. And that's a tremendous number. That represents 40% of all the bird species that occur in North America might someday be found right here at Buena Vista Lagoon. So this represents a critically important natural resource for our community.
There's been a buffer proposed around this project, supposed to sort of placate everyone, but I find it ill-conceived, poorly described. The staff report says it's going to be vegetated with native wetland plants. There shouldn't be a wetland in your buffer. Later on, it says it's going to be planted with drought-tolerant plants. There appears to be no real plan.
Fish and Game supports it. As Jerry said, we've met with them, they support it. You know, their biggest concern wasn't the width of buffer. The concern was who's going to manage it? How's it going to get taken care of? How are you going to promise us it's taken care of? And we'll offer it up, and those things will work themselves out.
Who will own it? They don't really seem to know who's going to own it, who's going to manage it. Fish and Game, they don't have a red cent to manage anything. And the alternative proposed by the lobbyist was it will get worked out somehow. Managing native habitat does not get worked out. It's very difficult, it's very expensive. There's invasive species that need to be controlled, may need to be irrigated to get started, and they're not really even sure what they're going to plant there.
The EIR for this project across the street from the Nature Center identified a number of potential impacts, and those impacts exist, these negative impacts from a development there. Despite whatever safeguards are imposed on this project, there still will be a certain amount of impact from such things as night lighting, increased traffic along Coast Highway and its impact on the habitat, runoff, the leaching of chemicals through the groundwater into the lagoon, invasive plant species that will creep into the lagoon as well. So there are a number of potential negative impacts that will result, that would result necessarily from a development there, and not all of them can be eliminated or mitigated.
I'm concerned about the light-footed clapper rail. No one's mentioned it tonight. It's a state endangered and federally endangered species. It's one of the most endangered birds in our state, and there's been little to no provision to protect it. There are a nesting pair within the immediate vicinity of the project site, and there's really no recommendation to protect it, except to avoid construction near it if it's feasible.
This parcel of land is adjacent to the lagoon. It's not just adjacent to the lagoon either, it's really a part of the ecosystem of Buena Vista Lagoon and the reserve that's here. The marsh plants already extend onto this property. In fact, wet ground already extends onto this property. The plants and the animals themselves are existing on the fringes of this property. The animals forage on this land as well.
I'm Joyce Page. I come from Carlsbad, 6524 Easy Street. I used to work at the Audubon Nature Center. I invested 15 years, and I don't know how many hours, teaching children about nature. And I cannot tell you how many times I had groups of 25 children, and we looked up and we saw a red-tailed hawk. And they were looking over in this area that we're thinking about developing to look for their prey. And sometimes we would see the red-shouldered hawk up there. And this was something that thrilled the children that normally don't pay any attention to nature because their families are too busy teaching them. This is not any facts that I'm giving you tonight. I'm not telling you anything about private property. I'm just telling you that that area is something that is used every single working day to teach children about nature. Thank you.